Now we continue chapter 4. We go to section 20. So what does section 20 tell us? If you're a person who provides services or materials with respect to goods in the ordinary course of business, no, you have the right to retain those goods up until the time na mabayaran yung goods na yun. So basically, ganun lang ang sinasabi ng section 20. Now we go to the very important section, section 21. Let's relate it to section 9. Flashback na tayo. Section 9 tells us that as a general rule, the security interest actually attaches to the personal property regardless of the transfer, either sale, lease, exchange, or whatever. That's a general rule. Exception under Section 21. Now what does Section 21 say? Any party who obtains in the ordinary course of business any movable property containing a security interest shall take the same free of such security interest provided he was in good faith. So, kung si transferee actually has no idea that a personal property is subject to a security interest, then he is a transferee in good faith. Hindi siya na-notify whatsoever. So, he can actually receive the personal property free of the security interest. Exception to the exception. You cannot be considered a transferee in good faith if the security interest was actually registered. Why? Because the registration in the registry of deeds actually is a constructive notice to the whole world that a property is subject to a security interest. Now let's go to section 23, purchase money security interest. What is this all about? You bought something, a personal property, definitely, and dahil hindi ka sure na mababayaran mo, yung binili mo would be the security to ensure the payment of your obligation, no? Which is, kumbaga, nangutang ka ng purchase money. That's why it's purchase money security interest. How do we know the priority rules? It depends on what you actually bought. So, if you bought an equipment, we go to letter A. So, how do you actually have priority over a purchase money security interest over an equipment? Then, you actually register through a notice, no? Your security interest within 3 business days after the grantor receives possession of the equipment. So we already discussed kanina sa definitions. What is a grantor? The grantor is actually the counterpart of the pledgor or the chattel mortgagor. So after niya ma-receive ang equipment, 3 days, within 3 days no, after niya na-receive ang equipment, iparegister mo na. Kung ikaw si secured creditor, yung interest mo, then you'll be prioritized. How about consumer goods? Again, registration not later than 3 days after the grantor obtains possession of the consumer goods. So, how about kung inventory or intellectual property or livestock? So, it is perfected when the grantor receives possession of the inventory or livestock or acquires rights to the intellectual property. Tapos, before the grantor receives possession of the inventory or livestock or acquires rights to the intellectual property, purchase money secured creditor gives written notification to the holder of conflicting perfected security interest in the same types of inventory, livestock, or intellectual property. So, anong difference ni inventory, intellectual property, or livestock kanina sa equipment and consumer goods? Yun, within 3 days after the grantor obtains. Dito naman, before the grantor even receives possession, kailangan na siya mag-notify sa conflicting interest para meron siyang priority.